Nihal.
Yep, one second.
Okay, go ahead. So,
Yeah, it's setting up and hopefully in like 2 seconds. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Today we are going to do things a little differently. Last week I actually ended up skipping 2 bongs accidentally. So we're going to take a step back. So if you look on the screen, I'm broadcasting the ash'ar we're going to read today, the lines. The ones in black are the ones that we're going to kind of dive a bit more deep into. The ones in blue, like this one, we did them, but they're connected to the subject matter at hand. So we'll quickly go through them. We won't spend too much time on them because we did them last week. And then the ones in red are going to be actually from Shikwa. And they kind of relate back to what we had gone over. So I just copied them here and then we can just look at them for reference, inshallah. So we'll go ahead and get started, inshallah. So I'm going to go from here. Dr. Saab, if you would do us the honor, inshallah, of reading.
Okay, Iqbal here in the next 2 or 3 months basically is counting out as to what is really become of the believers at that time.
Yeah.
So he says, हाथ बेजोर हैं, इल्हाद से दिल खूगर हैं, उम्मती बाइस रुसवाई ये पैगंबर हैं, बुत शिकन उठ गए, बाकी जो रहे बुतगर हैं, था बराहीम पिदर और पिसर आजर हैं, बादा शाम नए, बादा नया खुम भी नए, हरम काबा नया, बुत भी नए, तुम भी नए.
Dr. Saab, I know we had talked about this last week, but this was very deep. And specifically when we were talking about, where did it go? Right here. Yeah. Ta Barahim, right? On that aspect, it wasn't just saying Ibrahim, but when I was thinking about it, it was mentioning that Ibrahim in our Islamic tradition talks about the fact that he was the son that broke the idols of the father. But for us, we are the sons that are involved in the idol creation, and our fathers were the one that used to break them, yet we try to take our father's name, and that's when it's going to link to our Aba wa Ajdad in the few lines later.
Perfect, yes.
Yeah. But are there any specific words that you'd like to highlight here?
I think we should.
Yeah.
Haath bezor hain, your hands are powerless now, but the word is ilhad.
Yeah.
Ilhad se dil khugar hai. Ilhad is like kufr, but after really saying that you believe, then you don't believe. So mulhid is somebody who really believed it first and then he gave it up.
Yeah.
That is the difference between kufr and ilhad.
Yeah, उन्होंने नियत से उसको मतलब निकाला है. They made a distinction, say we are definitely not going to believe in this.
नहीं. Here ilhad से दिल खूग, दिलों को आखू होती है आदत, गर जिनको आदत पड़ जाए, दिलों को आदत पड़ गई है इल्हाद की, अल्लाह को अंदर से ना मान,
की आदत पड़ गई है यानी.
हाँ, अंदर से नहीं मान रहे. ये नहीं कहा कि तुम काफिर हो गए हो, ये कहा कि तुम इल्हाद की आदी हो गए हो, कि चीजें ऐसी करते हो जो कि मुसलमानों को करनी नहीं चाहिए. हाथ बेजोर हैं, इल्हाद से दिल खूगर है. हाथों को भी ब्लेम कर दिया, दिल को भी ब्लेम कर दिया. फिर उम्मती बाइस रुसवाई ये पैगंबर है. You are a disgrace to your prophet. You are giving him bad name. Ruswai is bad name and bias is the reason.
Yeah. So it's actually interesting. The word bias, this actually caught me off guard because in Arabic, bias matlab bhejna, to send out. So here bias ka matlab ye nahi tha, bias ka matlab tha uska irada was reason, maqsad.
No, the bias in Arabic is basat and stuff like that. That's what you're talking about. Bias here is different. Because these are the cause. Bias is the reason for which something happens. So that's the reason. They are the reason for giving a bad name to the Holy Prophet. Those who used to break the idols, they have marched on. Ut gaye here means they are no longer on the scene. Baki jo rahe, budgar hai. Whosoever is remaining is really creating idols or worshipping idols, basically.
Right.
Tha Barahim Pidar. The father used to break the idols. Pidar means father. और pisser, and you, the children now, the future generations. pisser वैसे बेटे को कहते हैं, लेकिन pisser यहाँ पे मुराद जैसे आप तुमने पहले कह दिया is the future generation. You, the children of Abraham, now you are Azar. Azar is somebody that still makes the idols and also worships the idols.
Yeah.
So Azar was actually the name of Abraham's uncle.
His father.
Yeah, but that's the context in which this is being used here. Bada Asham nae, Bada naya hum bhi nae. Harame Kaaba naya, but bhi nae, tum bhi nae. Because you have totally changed. Bada Asham is the one who are taking the wine or drinking. Bada is the drink itself. Bada is naya. Bada Asham, you people are new. Hum bhi nae, the
goblet
containers where you keep the wine, that also is new. You have created something totally different. Harame Kaaba naya. Harame Kaaba is the center of your worship. In other words, you're worshipping something different now. But bine, you have new idols. Tum bine, you are also changed.
Yeah.
So
this is something.
Yeah, this is counting some of the things that are highlighted as to what has become of the believers at that time. So I think you should explain it a little bit more.
Yeah. Some of the notes that I took were that in these lines, because when I went through this and I'm like, wow, there was a lot to unpack here. The main point was that, we had gone over the word khugar in shikwa as well, right? To be habituated to something in a certain way. Right? Today's Muslims have less courage and are more prone to disbelief, right? They're more prone to throw away their faith and not only forget their faith, right? Nisyan is bhulne ki baat hi nahi hai, magar ek irade se khugar hokar by habit and by intention to discard their faith. That's the main thing that's being brought
Take it for granted.
Taken for granted, right? And then those Muslims themselves are a stain on the reputation of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? अपने आप को वो पैगंबर के वो किताबीन में से, the followers of the messenger, that for you to lay claim to that is something that is despicable, and it's a stain on him if you were to be a follower of that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Right.
And then on top of that, the idol breakers are gone, but the new idol makers have arrived, right? तो पुराने जमाने के जो बुत तोड़ते थे वो तो चले गए. अब किस किस्म का बुत आदमी बना रहा है, what type of idols you're making, it's kind of intended, it's shown, we're going to see that later. But the ones who used to be prone to idol breaking are not around anymore. But
whatever is left, baki jo hai means whatever is left.
Yeah, and who remains is the butgar, the one who makes the idols.
Exactly.
Right? And then this is where it hit me. Tha Ibrahim Pidar or Pisar Azar hain, right? That before that Ibrahim Ibrahim alayhi salam, the father was Ibrahim alayhi salam, but the sons are now Azar. Meaning what? Because we know that in the Quranic narrative about the Prophet Abraham, his father or uncle, Mufassirin have the difference of opinion whether it was his father or uncle, but it doesn't make much of a difference. That was his main.
He raised him anyway, so he called him father.
Yeah. So, but the point is that Ibrahim's reputation was that he was the one that broke the idols. Kaun tha but shikan? Wo the Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Right.
But gar kaun tha? Ye Quran ki kahani mein, that was Azar. मगर ये वाले मुसलमानों ने पैगंबर उन लोग ने तो उल्टा कर दिया.
Roles have changed. Yes.
Yeah, the roles are changed. Now you are laying claim to be like the prophet, like Ibrahim, but you're like Azar actually, and the children, right, are actually in this case Azar. Or right, the children were Ibrahim at this point. The children were the ones that are the one that are doing the bad things. So your ancestors did good, right? But you're doing bad. But Ibrahim, the current son, did good, and his father did bad. So now the roles are being reversed. And then at the end, what is it that is being brought about? Now we have a new drinker, a new goblet, a new drink, a new sanctuary, new idols, and a new you. So you're not of the past Muslims that you are laying claim to be a part of. Tum to bilkul naye bande nikle.
Exactly.
Completely novel. But
beautiful.
Any addition to this from anyone? I felt like this was a
I
very
think this is a good one to expand on it from audience now. I think we have given the basics, but I think one thing maybe somebody should comment on it, where he mentions that Baise Ruswai Pagambar, and how embarrassing it is to call ourselves Muslims and not behave like them. Like somebody had mentioned that I have seen Islam in a particular country somewhere, I think he meant Germany or France, but no Muslims. But I have seen so many Muslims in an XYZ country, but no Islam. So here, I think that is a background, that we have names like Muslims, but we have actually lost the spirit of it.
जी मेरा भी ख्याल है डॉक्टर साहब, ये जो लाइन है कि उम्मती बाइस से रुसवाई पैगंबर हैं, ना सिर्फ कि ये अपनी रुसवाई है इनकी और इन्होंने वो जो सब कुछ छोड़ दिया है, बल्कि हद ये है कि हम पैगंबर के लिए भी रुसवाई हम हैं कि, और इट्स अ कॉमन फीलिंग कि if you just talk to anybody, they do not know our prophet, but they know you or they see you. So that's how they would recognize your religion or your prophet, or so then when they look at you, so that's, they are going to reflect on your prophet the same way.
Yes, exactly, that's the spirit.
There was actually one thing I wanted to bring up. This is mentioned in the Quran in 2 or 3 different places, but Allah says here, أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ, that have you not seen the one who takes his God to be his own desires, right? And that's what was coming to mind constantly, is that जो भी मन में आया वही बन गया उसका इलाह, वही बन गया उसका परवरदिगार, वही बन गया उसका खुदा, right? And that I felt like that Iqbal was very heavily reflecting in that number one, it says they were creating the idols, and in the last line where he says बादा आशाम नहीं, बादा नया, खूम भी नहीं, हर में काबा नया, बुत भी नहीं, तुम भी नहीं, right? All of that is new. So it's all about you, right? It's a new you, because especially now, living in a liberal, in a liberal capitalist society, where what you want, your happiness, is your God at the end of the day, right? But now it's all about refocusing our mind and our heart to want only that which is good for us, and many times people don't keep that in mind. So now it's all about, if you want something, if you have a desire, then your desire is something that you should go after, right? That is your God. And I think it's a point to keep in mind that we're living at a time period that's literally inflating the idea that whatever you want is your God, right? Tum bhi nahi. Like whoever you are is not the same lineage of the people that were before you. And it also brought me to think about in Surah Hud, Nuh alayhi salam, the prophet Noah, his son was destroyed because he decided not to listen to his father and join the ark. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prayed for him, and he said that he's my son, so please save him. And because of his action, Allah said, innahu laysa min ahlik, he is not of your family, right? Because he did not listen to what you were supposed to do. But now we see here that distinction is being drawn as well between Abraham and Azar, but you can also draw that distinction between Nuh alayhi salam and his son, right? That you can also say that today you have a community of people who are Noah's sons, but very few Noahs who are willing to build the ark when the rest of the world is laughing at them.
Right.
Okay, I guess we can move on to the next one.
Let me just quote one thing here. You see the last one, Haram mein Kaaba naya, but bhi naye, tum bhi naye. Iqbal at another place says, ye maal o daulat e duniya, ye rishta o paivand, butane wahm o guma, la ilaha illallah. So he says, in there he counts, ye maal o daulat e duniya is one God for you.
Yeah.
Ye rishta, your relationships, and paivand, your connections, your friends, people you know. Ye butane wahm o guma. ये तुमने अपने वहम और गुमान से बुत बना लिए हैं, you are following those. So that really basically is the same thing as here. हरम काबा नया, बुत भी नए, तुम भी नए. Yes, we can go on to the next one unless somebody has anything.
Yeah, and there was one more point actually. Haram Kaaba, people may be thinking it's the Kaaba, but the Kaaba itself, it's called Haram because it's a sanctuary. It's sacred. So what now we deem to be sacred is something else. It's not the Kaaba anymore, right? Haram Kaaba hamara naya ho gaya.
Haram Kaaba is the center of your ibadah. Okay, here that's why he said he didn't say Kaaba naya. Haram Kaaba naya. Yeah. Your center of worship. Yeah, that's a good point to make. Yes.
Yeah. The new center of sanctuary. Okay.
Okay, we will go over this. वो भी दिन थे कि यही माया रानाई था, नादिश मौसम गुल लालाए सहराई था, जो मुसलमान था अल्लाह का सौदाई था, कभी महबूब तुम्हारा यही अर्जाई था. किसी यकजाई से अब अहद गुलामी कर लो, मिल्लत अहमद मुरसल को मकामी कर लो. Beautiful.
Yeah.
See, he's using the same word that he has used in Shikwa. And in those words, he's responding now. Yahi maya ranai, the thing that adorned you, the thing that made you beautiful. This was your charm and your beauty.
Yeah.
Nadish is something that you take pride in. Mosam Gul is the springtime.
Yeah.
Lala Sehrai is actually a flower that is actually in a desert.
Yeah, the desert rose.
Rose in a desert.
Yeah.
Jo Musalman tha Allah ka saudai. Saudai means totally lost and madly in love.
Yeah.
Or kabhi mehboob tumhara. Sometimes there were days ago, your beloved was yahi harjai. Iqbal had said that tum harjai ho gaye. He told Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you are loving everyone, not only us. So he says kabhi yahi harjai means I.
Yeah.
So kisi yakjai se, yakjai means somebody who is not harjai, who stays in one place. Go ahead, as a gulami, be his servant. Sign an agreement to be of servitude with him. Or Millat Ahmad Mursal is the Muslim community. Makami means localize it into one place.
Yeah.
Now he says, let me just give the simple translation in Urdu.
Yeah.
एक जमाना था कि खूबसूरती का सरमाया तुम लोगों का यही था, यानी कि मैं ही था, और लाला सहराई जो डेजर्ट में फूल है, यही तुम्हारे मौसम बहार की काबिल फख्र चीज थी. जो भी मुसलमान उस जमाने में होता था वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ अल्लाह के मोहब्बत के अंदर डूबा हुआ होता था, उसी में गर्क होता था, उसी के साथ उसकी पूरी की पूरी कशिश होती थी. यही हर जाए जिसको यही अल्लाह, जिसको यही मैं यानी अल्लाह रब्बुल इज्जत की जात, जिसको आज तुम हर जाई कह रहे हो, यही कभी तुम्हारा महबूब हुआ करता था. तो अब तुम मुझे इस तरह कह रहे हो जैसे कि मेरा तुम्हारे साथ कोई ताल्लुक नहीं है और मैं तुम्हारे ऊपर मेहरबान नहीं हूं. तो इसका अगर यही है तुम्हारा ख्याल, तो जाओ किसी यकजाई से आप ऐदे गुलामी कर लो, किसी ऐसे से गुलामी करो जो किसी एक जगह पे महदूद है. मैं तो हर जगह हूं. I am everywhere, omnipresent and omnipotent. तो मैं तो हर जाई रहूंगा. I will take care of my creation everywhere. तो तुम किसी एक जो एक जगह पे लोकलाइज्ड है, जाओ अब उसके नीचे तुम गुलामी शुरू कर दो. और that, you know what will that do? That will actually localize the Muslim community into one area, and you will no longer be a global or a universal power. In other words, giving you indirectly a meaning that you really belong everywhere across the globe, and my message is also for the entire humanity. So don't say that I am ignoring you and taking care of others, or I am in love with everybody else at your expense. But I am still the same. But you have to have a proper perspective in realizing that this is the nature of me.
Yeah. And
this is the divine nature. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also I wanted to bring up the lines from Shikwa just to give you all context, because we had gone over it, right? Because the aspect that we had mentioned about being a harjai, right? So this was, and Dr. you can correct me, but I believe these were the lines.
Yes. इश्क की खैर वो पहली सी अदा भी न सही, ज्यादा पैमाई ये तस्लीम और अदा भी न सही, मुस्तरब दिल सिफते किबला नुमा भी न सही, और पाबंदी है आईने वफा बीना सही. Iqbal is saying, okay, we have lost these things. Yes, maybe we are not that good. After saying that, then he says, कभी हमसे कभी गैरों से शनासाई है.
Yeah.
बात कहने की नहीं, तू ही तो हर जाई है. He's saying that, okay, we may have fault, but here, you see, look at yourself. Sometimes you are with us, sometimes you are really being very close to others. बात कहने की नहीं, I shouldn't be saying this. I mean, it's not something for me to say. It's not something that should be said. तू भी तो हर जाई है. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are also not really somebody that is faithful with one. You are faithful with many.
Yeah. So, and the main point is that God is faithful with many people, right? But again, it has a negative connotation. Like, again,
harjai in Urdu means it has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
But here Iqbal has very cleverly said it in a way that it looks, when he compares, and based on the few lines that I just read from Jawab-e-Shikwa.
Yeah.
You see, he said that we are ishki pehli adana se, we don't have that compassion like we used to have.
Yeah.
In your servitude, in your submission to you, we may not be really treading fast enough. Our hearts may not be really, yearning out for you all the time.
Yeah.
Yet, you also look at yourself that you are not faithful to one.
Yeah. So, and not only that, if you actually go back then to line 21, this is also responding to what we had just said, right? About but shikan kon hai, right? Who is the one that is creating idols? Who is the one that is worshiping idols? So here in Shikwa, he was saying the same thing, right? Tujhko choda ya Rasul Arbi ko choda, right? And then it goes, right? That humne kya but kari pesha humne banaya kya? Like, did we make idol creation our profession, or did we shikani ko choda, usko torna choda hum log ne? And that's what the muqaddama that was being made in Shikwa was that, oh God, why are you putting us in this position? Did we sit there and worship idols? Did we sit there and do all of these things, right? And then it seems like, you just go to anyone who's anyone to, for getting done whatever we need to do. But then here, coming back to Jawab-e-Shikwa, which I just opened up, he's bringing it back up. Kabhi mehboob tumhara yahi har jai tha na, right? Jo Musalman tha, Allah ka sodai tha, right? The true Muslim was the one that was lost in God's love. And when I was beloved, right? Of course, that was your harjai, right? When you wanted to come to my arms and you wanted that respite and that comfort, and I gave it to you, I was this harjai, literally a courtesan, right? That's the connotation. Kisi yakjai se ab ahde gulami kar lo phir, right? Agar baat mere se nahi ban rahi to kahin aur jao, kisi aur ko dhondo, right? Why are you sitting there and coming to me, right? If the above is true, if everything you're saying is true, then go find another God. Right? Go find someone else.
The beauty here is harjai and yakjai. Har means every, yak means one. So when you localize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to one place, you have defeated the purpose anyway. You did not realize his divinity. You did not understand what his divinity means for everyone. So this is the beauty of these words. Yes.
Yeah.
And again, Maqami really hits the nail in the head. That if you do that, if you wanted some deity that really is exclusively for you, then you will be localized to one segment of the population, and you will become Maqami, not universal like you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and I think another beautiful part of this was Nazish Mausam Gul Lala Sahara tha, right? Lala Sahara tha, that the desert rose was a reason of envy for the springtime.
Yes.
And what he's referring to, this desert rose is what? It was in reference to Islam at the end of the day. This flower was Islam, right? And the desert was what? Hijaz.
Yes.
Yeah. That was the beauty of it.
Basically alluding that it came from, it appeared from there, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, all right. I think.
And then, Millat Ahmad Mursal was a reference to the Muslims. Any other thoughts on this? I know we had already gone over this, but if there's any additions to it, if not, then we can move forward. Okay, we'll go ahead.
All right, let's go to.
Same thing. This one we had actually done last week, and
we'll go quickly over it.
Yeah. I'm just going to bring it up from last week, actually.
Okay.
Since we already did it. Where'd it go? poetry.
नहीं, दूसरा वाला किस कदर.
Okay, yeah, one back.
किस कदर तुम पे गरां सुबह की बेदारी है, हमसे कब प्यार है, हाँ नींद तुम्हें प्यारी है.
Yeah,
तबे आजाद पे कैदे रमजान भारी है,
yeah,
तुम ही कह दो यही आईने वफादारी है. कौम मजहब से है, मजहब जो नहीं तुम भी नहीं, जज्बे बाहम जो नहीं महफिले अंजुम भी नहीं. That's a
yeah,
beautiful part at the end. But anyway, गरां is difficult or hard. किस
right.
कदर तुम पे गरां सुबह की बेदा. Waking up in the morning is very hard for you. हमसे कब प्यार है, हाँ नींद तुम्हें प्यारी है. When do you love me? Really? हाँ. Yes, you do love your sleep.
मेरे से तो प्यार नहीं करते हो, जब मिलने का मौका था मिलते ही नहीं.
Yeah. तबे आजाद पे your free spirit, your free manner of living. For him, कैद रमजान भारी है. The having the strictness of Ramadan fasting, that this particular condition is very difficult for you. You find it very hard on
Yeah,
yourself. तुम ही कह दो. You say yourself. Now you tell me. यही आईने वफादारी. Is this the
the formula
way of being faithful to something? Is this the constitution of being faithful? Is this the way of being living up to agreement? कौन मजहब से है. This is, I think one has to understand.
yeah,
मजहब जो नहीं तुम भी नहीं, religion की वजह से जो है वो मिल्लत बनती है. अगर तुम religion को छोड़ दोगे तो तुम भी नहीं बचोगे. But the next one is beautiful.
yeah,
जज्ब बाहम, attraction and relationship with each other. Jazb is attraction, baham with each other.
yeah,
Mahfil anjum bhi nahi. Then these stars also cannot stay on their path if they do not recognize their relationship to each other, attraction to each other, and yet staying at a certain distance from each other so that they can actually be free and move about. So the stars on the skies are teaching us a lesson that they have a relationship with each other such that they don't crash into each other, because they have a certain attraction, certain gravitational pull or anti-gravitational pull, or whatever you want to call it. So this is beautiful.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I brought up the notes from last week, so for anyone that missed it. So yeah, I've basically circled it.
This is fairly simple by the way.
Yeah, very pretty straightforward. We I think last week just spoke about the idea of a nation, right? Qaum ki kya zarurat hai, qaum ki kya awqat hai. And then we just mentioned that nations exist through faith, right? Faiths bind nations together. And the idea of nationalism, for example, right? The idea of bringing people together under a flagged banner, under a secular nation, is a relatively modern concept. But for so many years, for thousands of years, people gathered under what their most primitive beliefs were, which is the belief about faith. And so Qaum Mazhab se hai that your people, their nations are built upon what your faith or your religion or your way of life is. And then Jazbe Baham, attraction between each other. This mutual attraction is necessary for the assembly of stars in the galaxy to also stay together. So if we want to have our own little cosmological world on Earth, then we have to have a unified direction, for the most part, where people come together and they love each other and they recognize their faith, right? That's the most important thing. क्योंकि हमने अभी इससे पहले जज़्म बाहम जो नहीं, if there's no attraction, पहले तो हरजाई की बात की थी, यकजाई की बात की थी, that it's all kind of connected through this solace of love. Dr. Saab, that's actually something I wanted to ask you. Have you seen the movie Interstellar?
I don't see any movies. Sorry about that.
No, so it was like a Christopher Nolan movie, but it was a science fiction movie. That it was through following one's heart to make all the humans escape Earth because it was dying. By through love was one able to actually traverse the galaxy. It's a very interesting movie. But I was just thinking about that. For those of you that have seen it, it reminds me of that factor where they literally traverse the universe in a ship on the aspect of following your heart. And that's the most important thing, because rationale sometimes will say, oh, don't follow emotion. People's jazbat, right? People's emotions. And we have to pay attention to those emotions, how it can come together. So jazbe baham ke zariye mahfil anjum hi to tayyar hota hai aur jari rehta hai.
Beautiful.
ये तो आपने मौलाना रूमी वाली बात की है.
मैंने बात की है मौलाना रूमी वाली.
जी, वही वो दिल वाली बात के खैर इकबाल भी कहता है कि जो अक्ल का गुलाम हो वो दिल न कर कबूल.
Yeah.
So you always follow your heart, you know.
Yeah. And it's not some far-fetched idea, right? Even with my own background, mental health training and Islamic studies and stuff like that, the Prophet's literal coming was to help people understand their emotions better, so that it would be a better compass to guide people to the way of the fitrah, the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's that simple, you know. Rumi and Iqbal and, you know, Shams Tabriz, just go be, you know, whoever's name you want to take, that's all they're trying to reenact is, where is our heart? We've become so scholastic and so, you know, nitty gritty into Arabic details and fiqh and everything, but where is your heart, right?
Exactly.
That's the question.
अब्दुल वदूद भाई, आपने वो इकबाल का शेर सुनाया, एक और भी है उनका, खिरद के पास खबर के सिवा कुछ और नहीं, तेरा इलाज नजर के सिवा कुछ और नहीं. So nazar is from the heart, dida bina. So it's beautiful, the same thing. You have to have a little heart that is connected to the divine. So he'll talk about that in the coming months, inshallah.
Yeah, and then we'll go into the next one, which we had started. Yeah, jinko this was actually very simple too, right? Jinko aata nahi duniya mein koi fan tum ho, nahi jis qawm ko parwai nashiman tum ho. And then bijliyan jisme hu asoda wo kharman tum ho, beach कहता
बेच खाते हैं.
sorry, हाँ, बेच कहते हैं, जो असलाफ के मदफन तुम हो निको नाम जो कब्रों की तिजारत करे, right?
करके.
क्या ना बेचोगे जो मिले जाएं
सनम पत्थर के.
Yeah, you'd sell your faith if you could, right? And we went over these words too, I think. Parwai Nashe, what did we translate Parwai Nashe Man as? The care for your homeland, right?
Yeah, you wrote it in a different way. It should be hey, pe re wow alaf and then hey.
Oh,
it
yeah.
should be goal hey rather than
yeah.
and ye. Anyway, that's a typo.
Yeah, me actually.
नहीं जिस कौम को परवाह ए नशे मन.
Yeah.
गोल है. बिजलियां जिसमें हूँ आसूदा वो खरमन तुम हो. Wow. So I think we had covered this before. आसूदा जिसके अंदर छुपी हुई हूँ, खरमन वो उसका अनाज का ढेर होता है. बेच के खाते हैं, जो असलाफ is your ancestors, मदफन is their burial places. और निको नाम means somebody with good name, नेक नाम. कब्रों की तजारत करके, you call yourself honorable by selling the grave sites, so to speak, or selling your ancestors. Here it's as a symbolic mean you're selling the goodies from your parents and ancestors, but you don't have anything yourself to sell. क्या ना बेचोगे? Won't you sell if you got yourself actually the idols of stones? In other words, if you have worldly things, you would get lost into that, and you are capable of doing that worldly things now, because you are now known that you are selling the laurels of your ancestors. Kabru ki tajarat symbolically is saying that you are actually taking their honors and taking credit for that, and expecting that you will be rewarded for it. So in that case, if you were to get any kind of idols, you would sell them. I'm not even a little bit worried that a little bit doubtful that you will not do something that bad also. So
ये कब्रों की तिजारत जो हम मज़ारों पे जो कुछ करके करते हैं, ये उस पे रेफरेंस है?
ये नहीं है.
अच्छा, ये नहीं है.
यहाँ पे हे निको नाम है. You are getting good name because Iqbal had said that हमने ये किया, हमने वो किया, तो फिर जवाब आया था कि वो तो तुम्हारे बड़े थे, तुमने तो कुछ भी नहीं किया. ये उसी की वजाहत है.
अच्छा.
And not only that.
No, take it in a broader sense. You're not selling that. If somebody is selling grave sites, that's not what he's referring to. No, he's talking about you are actually taking credit for those who are actually dead long time, and you're taking credit for those, and you're calling yourself good name because we are descendants of people who actually दरियाओं में चले गए और ये किया, तेरे लिए मर गए, वगैरह वगैरह. This is what he means here. It's a very poetic kind of a way of putting it, not literal.
Yeah, because on one end तुमने अपना नाम बनाया, right? निको नाम,
हाँ
right?
बिल्कुल
अब वो लोग जो हमारे असलाफ जो अब मतवन हो गए हैं, they're तदफीन हो गई उनकी, that they're buried,
हाँ हाँ
उनकी कब्र में तुम लोग को भेज दोगे, उनका नाम तो रख लोगे,
हाँ
right? So you're just gonna be a full out like, you know, garbage businessman. And sometimes it's also like, if you think about it, this attitude so much so exists within a lot of our communities, not just the grave, but just the aspect of you'll use someone's name, use their honor, discard them, and then take what they have. And, you know, that's just the sad aspect of it. And then there was another question somebody had about bijliyan jisme hoon to asoda wo kharman tum ho, right? I think we had said that it was heaped up piles of wheat that's ready to be ignited and burned, right? That because like people are not taking advantage of it, if I'm correct. Dr. If you can correct me though.
Yeah, but basically take it a little bit further. You say that you are worthwhile by looking at you.
Yeah.
You are that anaj ka dher that has some value to it. But what is it in here? There is a lightning hidden in it. It's really, there is it can burn out and flame any time. In other words, your situation is very, very delicate. You are very risky. You are at a tremendous risk because of your ways and means. You have hidden, you have those things that could endanger your iman, although you do have a treasure that you should be valuing.
Yeah, so bijli yahan pe then has a negative connotation.
Definitely negative.
Yeah.
Bijliyan, I don't know why he used the word bijliyan, but it's actually, he's talking about sharara, something that has a little spark underneath, waiting to burn it, waiting to destroy it. It's not a positive thing.
Yeah.
It's a negative thing.
Right. Makes sense.
डॉक्टर साहब इसमें बिजली शायरी में इस तरह भी इस्तेमाल होती है ना कि बिजली गिरी तो घर जो है वो जल पड़ा, तो बिजली के अंदर एक शरारा होता है जो कि आसमानी बिजली जो होती है
जी,
उस सेंस में भी हो सकता है मेरे ख्याल से।
वही सेंस है, लेकिन उस कहने का अंदाज ये है, वो आसमानी बिजली को ही कह रहा है, ये बिजली इसलिए उसने कहा है, लेकिन ये कहना कि बिजली उसमें बैठी हुई है जरा इमेजिनेशन के लिए मुश्किल है। मगर ये है कि अगर आसूदा ना कहता ना कि आसूदा आराम से छुप के बैठी हुई है, तो फिर मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी। पोएट आई कैन टेल यू दैट बिजलियां कहीं भी होती हैं वो छुप के नहीं बैठती, चंगारी छुप के बैठ सकती है, नीचे हो सकता है कुछ हो। बहरहाल he conveys his meaning properly, like you said, that it's the same thing that can, you know, add a little spark and the whole thing will burn down to ground.
Yeah, asuda yani poshida.
Poshida, yeah. Here he means they are lying down in wait to destroy you.
डॉक्टर साहब, डॉक्टर उस्मान मुस्तफा, असूदा का मतलब आसानी नहीं, मतलब आराम से छुपी हुई, आराम से बैठी हुई, मतलब
they're resting. Exactly, yeah, that means, yeah. If you can imagine bijli being asuda, but that asuda does mean that आराम से छुपी हुई rest कर रही है उसके अंदर.
Thank you.
Good thing you brought it out.
Kharman or khirman? Kharman, okay, got it. All right, good. Let's go on to the next part. This was very simple.
खरमन और खिरमन से मुझे याद आया कि कभी-कभी जो हम फारसी से लेते हैं ना उर्दू में लफ्ज, तो हम कभी उसको बदल भी लेते हैं, तो कभी-कभी खिरमन भी कह सकते हैं। मुझे इसमें तो मैंने कभी नहीं सुना खिरमन, लेकिन अगर ऐसा कोई कहे खिरमन तो उसमें भी गलती नहीं जरूरी,
दोनों चलता है।
हाँ, चल सकता है। इसमें तो खैर मुझे पता नहीं, लेकिन कभी-कभी मैंने देखा कि when we bring a Persian or an Arabic word into Urdu, we do have that option of changing it a little bit. जैसे हमने शादबाश को शाबाश कर दिया है, बीच में से दाल गायब कर दी, but basically the same word.
I was thinking about one today as I was talking to my mom. I said kam as kam. I was like kam az kam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kam se kam. Yeah.
So all right. This one is very straightforward. सफाई दहर से बातिल को मिटाया किसने? नौ इंसान को गुलामी से छुड़ाया किसने? मेरे काबे को जमीरों से बसाया किसने? मेरे कुरान को सीनों से लगाया किसने?
Beautiful.
Right? थे तो आबाओ तुम्हारे ही मगर तुम क्या हो, हाथ पर हाथ दहरे से मुंतजिर फरदा बैठे हो, right?
Right.
And then actually in the other one I brought out the shikwa lines for this one. Where to go? Yeah, so safai dahar se baat ko kisne mitaya, right? And then in shikwa, I'll come back to that one actually.
But that's okay. Basically, we had gone over it last time, I think. Yeah. So go ahead. You did it already. So go over it slowly and then we'll understand.
Yeah, so what we had gone over for this one was that there was another line that in Shikwa that they had mentioned. If somebody can bring it, just tell me the bong number, I can bring it up onto the screen. But right, in Shikwa, the case that Allama Iqbal had made was that hum hi wo the jinhone safai dahar se batil ko mitaya. Right, so we basically batil was what batil we know is wrongdoing basically, right? So that we were the ones that removed this evil from here. Yes, so it's Bund 13. I'm actually just going to open that.
I got it. सफाए देर से बातिल को मिटाया हमने, नौ इंसान को गुलामी से छुड़ाया हमने, तेरे काबे को जबीनों से बसाया हमने, तेरे कुरान को सीने से लगाया हमने, हम भी फिर भी हमसे ये गिला है कि आप वफादार नहीं, हम वफादार नहीं, तू भी तो दिलदार नहीं. Yeah. Exactly the answering to these allegations now in Jawab Shikwa.
Yeah, right here. So weren't we the one that effaced from the world falsehood, right? Were we not the ones that, as the children of Adam, we helped others, unko gulami se nikala, right? We got them out of slavery. Were we not the ones? And just imagine the imagery, right? Tere kaabe ko jabino se basaya humne, that we are the ones that worshipped you by placing our foreheads on the ground. Tere Quran ko sino se lagaya humne. We were the ones that adhered to those principles by making the Quran enter into our chests, right?
Yes.
But हमने तो ये सब किया, right? So now, actually, this is a very good point to mention. The contention that Allama Iqbal is mentioning here, right? We did all of this, but हम वफादार नहीं, right? हमने ये सब किया, हमारी वफादारी नहीं है, right? We did things that are supposed to.
And then you are still complaining that we are not loyal to you.
Yeah.
ये गिला है. You are complaining. Yeah.
Yeah. अगर हम वफादार नहीं है तो फिर आप ही तो दिलदार नहीं है. So you're saying that we're not loyal. If we're not loyal, then you just lack a heart and you're heartless, right? So now in Jawab Shikwa, right, he's responding, right? He's responding right here. Safai dahar se mitaya kisne? Sorry.
Yeah, question. Yeah.
No insan ko gulami se chhodaya kisne? Mere kabe ko jarino se bisaya. Sorry, tum kaun ho? Acha Musalman? तुम लोग तो नहीं हो, तुम्हारे
आज के
आजाद तो थे, तुम लोग तो नहीं बाकी रहे भाई. Sorry, Dr. Lodud, what are you saying?
He was saying that आज के मुसलमान, yes.
I think what he said, I think
बात हो रही है.
Exactly. I think Allah is accepting the claim that was made, but now Allah is saying that claim is good for your ancestors, not for you.
Exactly, that's the point. Beautiful.
Yeah. हे तो आबा वो तुम्हारे, ठीक है, तुम्हारे आबाओं ने किया था, right? That's what he's saying. तुम्हारे आबाओं ने तो किया था, right? Oops, sorry. Right? Your Abba, right?
Yes, ancestors.
Your ancestors may have done it, but as for yourselves, मगर तुम क्या हो भाई? And it doesn't say तुम कौन हो, तुम क्या हो? क्या चीज हो तुम?
That's a beautiful difference, yes.
Because there's another verse, right?
What are you?
Right? तुम किस मिट्टी से बने हो? Right? वो आदम वाली मिट्टी से तो नहीं हो, पता नहीं कहाँ से. And it's kind of sarcastic.
Yes, exactly.
Right? It's sarcastic.
ईंट का जवाब पत्थर.
वो था ना कि चुटकी भर मिट्टी को पर लगे हैं.
चींटी के पर.
Yeah. So now that's what he's saying. It's like, I don't think it was you guys, right? They were your ancestors. मगर तुम क्या हो? And question mark.
Yes.
And that's not just it's not a literal question. It's a rhetorical question. It may seem sarcastic. It has sarcasm, but it's also a point of contemplation. Like, we as Muslims, 100 years after this has been written, like, who are we? What have we done? Right? We're literally like, like, what have we actually accomplished? Haat par haat, right? You're just sitting there with your hands, useless, right? It's like that post, like, as I mentioned, वो दावत में खाना भी खा लिया, वो कुल्फी भी खा लिया और वो चाय भी पी लिया आपने, और बस वो गुफ्तगू कर रहे हैं वो सियासत के ऊपर, and talking about how good the world is, how bad the world is, and you're just sitting there talking, doing absolutely nothing. मुंतज़िर फ़रदा बैठे हो तुम.
Waiting for tomorrow, putting one hand over the other.
और कोई कुछ कर भी नहीं रहा है.
When you say हाथ पर हाथ धरे, which means you are absolutely inactive. एक हाथ भी बेकार हो चुका है, दूसरा हाथ भी बेकार हो चुका है, because they are both entangled with each other and not active in anything. No activity at all. Beautiful phrase. हाथ पे हाथ धरना.
Yeah.
मुंतज़ारे फरदा, कल के इंतजार में.
Yeah. So we did that, and then today these are some of the newer lines that we had gone over.
You want me to go over it?
Oh wait, where did this go? Oh, hold on.
You got it. You had it on.
Oh, was it there?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah.
क्या कहा? बहरे मुसलमान है फकत वादा हूर, शिकवा बेजा भी करे कोई तो लाजम है शऊर. वाओ. अदल है फातर हस्ती का, अजल से दस्तूर, मुस्लिम आई हुआ काफिर तो मिले हूर कसूर, तुम में हूरों का कोई चाहने वाला ही नहीं, जलवाए तूर तो मौजूद है, मूसा ही नहीं. वाह वाह वाह, ब्यूटीफुल. क्या कहा? What did you say? बहरे मुसलमान. Yeah, sir, you want to repeat this?
No, go ahead.
बहरे मुसलमान, for the Muslims, है फकत वादा हूर is only a promise that they will get huris or hurs in Jannah, because that's what Iqbal had said in Shikwa, कि हमें वादे पर टरखा रहे हो और बाकियों को सब कुछ दे दिया. तो क्या कहा? बहरे मुसलमान, for the Muslims, है फकत is only वादा हूर, a promise of huris. Shikwa is the complaint. Beja, out of place. Beja means out of its context. Beja is wrong.
Yeah.
So bikare koi to lazim hai shaur. You have to have some kind of a conscience, even if you were making a complaint that did not even belong to be complaint. Even to make a wrong complaint, this is a beautiful word. Even to give a wrong allegation, you have to have some kind of a reasonableness, some kind of a conscience. Shaur, yeah. Adl hai fatare hasti ka, azal se dastur. Adl is justice. Fatare hasti is the creator of the universe. Azal is the beginning of time, and dastur is the method that or the way. So he says that the creator from the day one, his dastur, his system is justice. Justice is the from day one has been the way of your creator. Muslim aayi hua kafir to mile huro kusur. Muslim aayi means somebody who has a ayin of Islam, who is believer in Islam or who's a follower of Islamic way. Hua kafir, if he becomes unbelievable, इसको दोनों तरफ से आप पढ़ सकते हैं. अगर काफिर कोई मुस्लिम आई हुआ, अगर कोई unbeliever है and but he follows the Islamic pathway, इस तरह भी पढ़ सकते हैं. या इसको ये करते हैं मुस्लिम आई, यानी कि जो मुसलमान आइन वाला था, हुआ काफिर, if he becomes unbeliever, तो मिले हुरो कसूर, then you expect that he should get the big houses in the paradise and the servants. The hur here basically is probably for the people that will be serving you in paradise. Kusur is kasr. Kasr means house or a mahal or a castle. So he says that when a believer adopts the ways of non-believers, then he expects to have those things. तुम में हुरों का कोई चाहने वाला ही नहीं. Amongst you there is no one that really is looking or eager to have those kind of rewards at that final day. Jalwaye Tur to mawjood hai. The beauty of Tur, Mount in Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
Jalwaye Tur means what appeared at Mount Tur, which means divine jalwa, divine light. That is to mawjood hai. That is still present. Musa hi nahi. There is no Moses. In other words, when Moses wanted to see, and whatever he saw, that thing is still present. Jalwaye Tur is there, but there is nobody like Moses who is eager to see it and keeps asking, oh Allah, I want to see you. Oh Allah, I want to see me. Rabbi arani unzir alay. So he kept saying it, and that's why God said that I showed a part of my tajalli there on Mount Tur, I can still do it, but there is nobody that is really eager like Musa was.
Yeah.
But here he says, you don't even know how to complain. When he says, to lazam hai shaur, that is a beauty. शिकवा बेजा भी करे कोई तो लाजम है, तुम तो इतने बेवकूफ हो, तुमको शिकायत करना भी नहीं आती.
And not only that, like kya kaha, right? To link that.
What did you say?
The last part, right? हमने ये किया, हमने बातिल को मिटाया, हमने गुलामी से छुड़ाया, हमने जबीनों को बसाया, हमने कुरान को लगाया, ये किया. Sorry, तुम कुछ कह रहे थे क्या? Were you saying something? Sorry. Oh हाँ, बहरे मुसलमान फकत वादा है हूर. हमारे तो भेजे में यही बात पड़ी हुई है ना, कि बस it's an empty promise, right?
Yeah.
It's an empty promise. That's what you say. And then the attitude is what? शिकवे भेजा भी करे कोई तो लाजम है शऊर.
हाँ, तुमने तो शऊर ही नहीं है.
बेवकूफ इंसान. Like, do you hear what you're saying?
Yeah.
Do you understand even the words that are coming out of your mouth? Right? It's like that scene from Rush Hour where Chris Tucker goes, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? And that's what it's saying, right? That at the end, like तुम्हारे जो शिकवे में जो तुम complaint जो कर रहे हो, is there any validity to that? It's just such an invalid complaint. And even that invalidity needs some sense. There is no logical rhetoric to utilize to understand your complaint, right? क्योंकि आखिर में जो मुकदमा बैठाया था उन्होंने, वो बात थी कि हमने ये वो किया, but then वो बात उनकी बुनियाद आखिर में तोड़ी उन लोग ने. How? Because at the end of the day, थे तो आबा वो तुम्हारे, तुम क्या हो, right? तुम्हारे आबा ने वो सब किया था. And then he goes on, right? फातिर हस्ती का अज़ल से दुस्तूर अदल है. That God's constitution, God's law since the beginning of time is that justice ought to be established on earth. That's the main point, right? And in that justice, one understands that Muslim ayn hua, kafir to mile hura kusur, right? That at the end, what it comes down to is that how can a believer acquire these things if they become a disbeliever, right? What does that go back to? Well, if you remember at the beginning, just a few lines back, what did we end up saying? We started by saying, हाथ बेजोर है इल्हाद से दिल खुगर हो गया है आपका भाई. You become habituated to disbelief.
Right.
So, and again, this is all referential, right? So for those of you that are following along, the point is that you can keep somewhat of a memory of what's already happened in the past. So everyone's already become so, khugare ilhad ho gaye sab, right? They're all dispositioned to disbelieve. And now they're saying that all these promises of God are empty promises. But at the end of the day, you have to be a believer to get that, right? Whether it's a palace or a maiden in paradise. Tumme huron ka koi chahne wala hi nahi hai, right? Those of you that want to attain paradise and its goodness, you have to want it just like Moses saw the fire and he went to the fire. And I wanted to actually pull up those verses to show you the reality of what that fire was. So if you go to Surah 20, Surah Taha, this is the actual narrative from where Allama Iqbal is taking it from, right? إِذْ رَأَى نَارًا فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِمْ كُثُوا إِنِّي آنَسْتُ نَارًا. He led his family to the side. He said, stay here. I see a fire in the distance. I'm going to go to it. So if you see something to attain in the distance or get a benefit from, you need to take your steps, right? And go towards there. He said, and not only that, maybe I'll find something good. Maybe I'll find some guidance. And he was talking about what? A guidance that was physical, but he ended up getting this metaphysical guidance. He got this divine guidance. And then when he came to the fire, the fire called out to him, Inni ana rabbuk, right? It was Allah speaking to him through the fire. Remove your shoes. You are in the valley of Tuwa, and the valley of Tuwa was on the mount of Tur. Jalwa Tur to maujood hai, magar Musa hi nahi hai. Right?
Beautiful.
The fire is right there. You need to walk towards it. You need to leave your family. You need to take the steps. If you actually look at the language here, I saw the fire. The fire is real. The fire exists. But look, he's using probable language. maybe I may find something. So if you're going to stand in front of God with all your certainties already laid out and without the possibility of you growing and realizing that's not actually what you need or want in life, you won't be able to find that divine connection. And then finally he goes to it and he says that I have chosen you. Ana akhtartuka. I have chosen you. Fastami' lima yuha. Then listen to what has been revealed. Innani ana Allahu la ilaha illa ana. Right? Know that I am God. There is no God but me. La ilaha illa ana. Fa'budani. So worship me. Wa aqimis salata li dhikri. And to remember me, have prayer. But to give you all the context of what is being spoken about here in these verses, we see exactly that. That तुम में हुरों का कोई चाहने वाला ही नहीं है, right? And he's saying that why? Because it's all in front of you. You know what you need to do, right? पर जलवा तूर तो मौजूद है, right? That the fire is there, that existed there. Jalwa is literally that. It's that fire, that inner spark, right?
I don't know. See, the Jalwa Tur, the way I looked at it in the past, Jalwa Tur, like at that time, Musa desired to see a glimpse of Allah. And Allah said, you can't see me, because if you see me, everything is going to burn. But Musa really wanted it. And he had that built-in desire to see it. And Allah actually then showed a glimpse of that. And everything went like into fire. And he was like even unconscious for that while. So I think what I'm saying is, you don't have that immense desire to see me. Same token, you're saying you want who, but you're really not wanting it the way Musa wanted to see me.
Yeah. And not only that, you see here, this is the other verse. Thank you, brother. But he was saying, right, that وَلَمَّا جَاءَ مُوسَى لِمِيقَاتِنَا, when Musa went to the place of meeting, right, وَكَلَّمَهُ رَبُّ, when his God spoke to him, قَالَ رَبِّ أَرِنِي أَنظُرْ إِلَيْكَ, oh my Lord, show me yourself, right? أَنظُرْ إِلَيْكَ قَالَ لَن تَرَانِي, you won't be able to see me. وَلَكِنْ أُنظُرْ إِلَى الْجَبَلِ, but look to the mountain, right? فَإِنِ اسْتَقَرَّ مَكَانَهُ فَسَوْفَ تَرَانِي, right? But look at the mountain, and if it stays in place, then you'll see me. But when his Lord appeared in the mountain, he rendered it level, right? So Musa still was unable to really see God. He saw God's light and he felt unconscious.
He did not appear, but he showed his part of a little bit of tajalli, little bit of his
the light shined forth. So wo jalwa tha usme.
Bilkul, this is what jalwa. Jalwa-e-tur means what appeared there is still there intact. It can appear again, but Musa hi nahi. Yes. Beautiful. You know, this is the word that the verse that I was looking for, but you just brought up. Jalwa-e-tur to mawjood hai. And the point that was brought up by brother is very good. Basically, he continued to ask for it again and again. He was told you can't see it. And then when he insisted, then he was shown, number one, the sanctity of the place. Take your shoes off. Number two, I'm going to show it indirectly on that mountain. And if that mountain stays in place and you can see something there, then you will see me. Of course, the mountain was totally destroyed, and Moses was unconscious for a good length of time. We don't know how long, but it was very long. Yes.
And these were the lines of shikwa that I believe is reflecting. If somebody can mention the number, that would be helpful. ये शिकायत नहीं है.
ये शिकायत नहीं है उनके खजाने मामूर, नहीं महफिल में जिन्हें बात भी करने का शऊर. कहर तो ये है कि काफिर को मिले हूरो कसूर और बेचारे मुसलमान को फकत वादाए हूर. अब वो अल्ताफ नहीं, हम पे अनायात नहीं. बात ये क्या है कि पहली सी मदारात नहीं. Yeah, this was in Shikwa.
That's what it's saying.
Good thing you brought it out. Yes.
Yeah.
कहर तो ये है, the tragedy is that the non-believers. Oh, by the way, here when we say kafir and Musalman, it doesn't really mean Islam of today or Islam. Islam of all the times. They were at every time from Adam to now, there were people who believed in a higher power and others who didn't believe it. We have given the names to the religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Buddhism, and whatever else. But as humans, we are basically either we believe in a higher authority or not. So here, the reference is to believers and non-believers, basically, in a very higher sense.
Yeah.
So that point has to be made because from the day one, adl hai fatare hasti ka adl se dastur. Justice will be done. Nobody will be treated unjustly in heaven, in Day of Judgment.
Yeah. And then we're going to quickly just do one and then we'll finish it off for the night, inshallah.
Which one?
This one,
Next one. Yeah, this is fairly easy. मुनफात एक है इस कौम की, नुकसान भी एक ही सबका नबी, दीन भी, ईमान भी एक, हरम पाक भी, अल्लाह भी, कुरान भी एक. कुछ बड़ी बात थी, होते जो मुसलमान भी एक. फिरका बंदी है कहीं और कहीं जाते हैं, क्या जमाने में पनपने की यही बातें हैं. मुनफात means फायदा or gains or something that adds to it. Munfaat ek hai. Your profit or your faida, your gains is the same for the entire nation. Nuksan bhi ek. When you gain all of you. When you lose all of you. So you are a one nation and your faida nuksan is the same. Ek ka nuksan sab ka nuksan hai. एक ही सबका नबी, दीन भी, ईमान भी एक. All of you have the same prophet, the same religion and the same faith system. You see here the difference, deen and iman?
Yeah.
So this has to be kind of understood also. एक ही सबका नबी, दीन भी, ईमान भी एक. हरम पाक भी, your place where you look to turn to when you worship. That part is the same. Allah bhi, your creator is the same. Quran bhi, the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the same for all of you. And again, Quran bhi ek. It's amazing statement, also looks simple. Not one word different from in any Quran nuskha with anybody today in the world, whether the person is of what sect of Islam, non-believer, believer, or whatever you have it. They all have amazingly the same book of Quran. Kuch badi baat thi hote jo Musliman bhi. Was it too much to ask if all believers would be just one? So it's fairly simple. He says you all have the same prophet and laws, you have the same prophet, the same religion, same faith system, you bow to the same God, you have the same message, you have the same Kaaba. And why is it? Was it too much to ask if you would become one? Firqa bandi hai. You have divided yourself. You have divisions. Firqa bandi means when you're dividing something into different sections.
Yeah.
Somewhere I see firqa bandi, somewhere I see zatein, you cast yourself, caste system, I'm a higher caste, I'm a lower caste, I'm this, I'm that. You've given yourself all kinds of tribal identities.
Yeah.
Kya zamane mein panapne ki yahi baat hai? Panapna is nurturing yourself and really moving up and higher in your social status. So, zamane mein means in the world or in time. तो क्या दुनिया में अपने आप को ग्रो करने की यही तरीके होते हैं जो तुम लोग कर रहे हो कि फिरकों में बट रहे हो, dividing yourself into sections and different tribes and different nations and different belief systems and mazahib, little thing here, little there, I'm a little different, you are a little different. All of this that you have done. Here in a clever way, Iqbal has kind of identified the shortfalls of the believers in such a beautiful way that as if it's coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but basically it was Iqbal's thinking that he was able to point out these things, but still not say that I am saying it. He was saying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying it to you. Believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can take a pause there. Does anyone have any additions or?
There should be quite a few questions.
I know we went over time a little bit. Apologies, but it would be helpful to hear from all of you. Today was fun. You know, one thing I was actually thinking about was the idea of like why do we have sects and why do we have these divisions? It's because people seek uniformity as opposed to unity, right? Uniformity is where you expect everyone to look the same, talk the same, and it stems from a sense of control. Like you want to control people. But unity is where we as a community can have differences, yet still agree and smile at each other because of the fact it's the same Quran, it's the same prophet, it's the same faith. But I think more often than not, people end up splitting themselves over different sect names and different, I like to call it political allegiances, right? Because a lot of these names that we have, like Salafi and Ikhwani and Brelvi and Deobandi, all these things didn't exist 150 years ago, like in the Muslim community. They're all relatively new, or 250 years ago maximum. And I think that people end up mistaking a Muslim political theology for what the actual faith tells us. And I think it's important that we not fall into that trap.
Perfect.
Yeah, just to add on what Brother Nihal said, I think the crucial point is the tolerance, to be able to tolerate other people's point of view. And Iqbal beautiful actually mentioned, there are common pillars which we can hold on to. I think that's going to make a huge difference. You say, you have one Allah, one Rasulullah, one Nabi, one Quran, and the whole theme was actually one. So they were the basic concept, the ideology was one. So if you can hold on to all of these, together, it would be amazing. So, and then obviously you have to tolerate other people's minor differences of opinion. And this is where the Muslim Ummah, unfortunately, the tolerance is way down, Is Allah says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Wa tasimu bihablillahi jami'an wa la tafarraqu. The Quran has already beautifully explained this fact, but we have actually stopped looking at the major pillars and, really looking at the small little pieces here and there. That's where the issue, my opinion.
Yes, no, this is perfect. I'm glad that you brought that out, because this is what is going on. We should not lose hope, though, because obviously it's good to critique, but as you see in any Muslim community or any kind of a group, those that are well educated and informed about other religions and other faith systems and have really gotten a broadened perspective of Islam, they do develop tolerance and they do accommodate. And Iqbal and Rumi are examples of that, that they become so much pro-humanity that they take a broader picture, a broader lesson from Islam. It's when we are localized in certain communities and have seen no other way of being right, then we consider that whatever we are doing is the only way that is correct. But when you go to when you go to Hajj and you see so many different brothers and sisters doing Hajj from different nations, then you realize there is much more than we thought. Yeah.
May I come in his love of Muslim unity?
Please.
एक हों मुस्लिम हरम की पासबानी के लिए, नील के साहल से लेके ताबखा के काशगर.
Right, but beautiful. That's Iqbal too. Yes.
His love of unity is not described enough. What is described in this just one, we are, I am Ahmadi, I'm Shia, I'm Sunni. What he said was, Ek ho Muslim haram ki pasba, haram. His greatest love for haram is, that's his greatest. इसीलिए तो उसने कहा ना, खीरा ना कर सका मुझे जलवाए दानशे फ्रंक. देखो, this is his beauty and power of prophet. That prophets, he put his foot and I took some, dirt from there, put in my eyes, and my eyes, khira na kar saka mujhe jalwaye danshe frank, aankhon meri ka surma hai.
Surma hai meri aankh ka, khake Madina. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.
So, khaira hai, khira nahi. Khaira na kar saka. It did not surprise me.
Yeah, good.
It did not astonish me. Khaira na kar saka mujhe. Jalwaye Danish Frank, the beauty of the intellect of the West did not surprise me, did not astonish me, did not really enchant me.
Yeah.
Why? Because Surma hai meri aankha, khake Madina o Najaf. Because I see it by the eyes that have been purified.
I see it through godly powers and love, and that's above
the teaching.
knowledge and
Bhai mere khake Madina o Najaf ko to dono credit. I have followed the message that came out of Medina and out of Najaf.
That's true translation.
Mawla Ali taught me what I have learned from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is what has purified my vision. So now I can see better. So I am not impressed by the beauty of the West.
Absolutely.
Beautiful, beautiful verse you brought out. MashaAllah.
Unity is being able to pray Eid namaz on 2 separate days and just be okay with it.
Yes.
You know, that's not about forcing other people to get into your opinion, right? Like,
when will we learn that it can never be on the same day of the week on this globe? We should know that it's not astronomically possible. So those of us who are still illiterate, we continue to expect that the same day will be Friday everywhere on the globe. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So there will be this, and we have to leave it to astronomers to tell us the lunar days and calendars. And we have been working on this for God knows when, because we migrated to different countries, and we still keep thinking that if we are back wherever we came from, and everybody should do the same, eat the same day, it cannot be done.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some occasionally it's possible, but that's very rare. Okay. So
okay, everyone. I think we should call it a night, inshallah.
Yeah, until we meet next week.
Yeah,
inshallah.
next week. Looking forward to seeing you all. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for everyone, for the new folks that.
Oh, wonderful! It was really wonderful.
Thank you.
Please join us every week.
My name is Ali Chaudhry, and I have collection of all his books.
MashaAllah. You have collection of his books.
Oh yeah.
How do you know you have all of them?
Well, the latest was published in year 2000. One of his nephews, he was professor of chemical engineering. And then he had actually written a paper to present in Oxford University in 1936. Time, space, and religion. That's why he was famous in the whole world.
I see.
Time,
Beautiful.
space, and religion.
Wow.
How godly powers come out of these events. And
Beautiful.
then he could not go there, and that paper was not presented.
I see.
And then one of his family members, I saw him in Birmingham University. He was professor of chemical engineering. I went to that university also. Then he came back, he wrote that book, and that's the latest I bought, and I brought it here.
Beautiful.
Time, space, and religion.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay.
And a lot is written about Iqbal and about his message, as is about Rumi. Inshallah, we'll take advantage of all that. Welcome to this group. We are excited that people are, mashallah, finding it easy now to join.
Oh my God, this evening made my life really where I wanted.
Beautiful.
Very beautiful.
Okay, everyone, please spread the message. 8:30 p.m. every Sunday, we do this class.
By the way,
so inshallah,
my life is totally, Iqbal is in front of me, whether I'm eating, sitting, driving. He guides my driving. I become safer driver because of him.
MashaAllah. Again, can you repeat your name? I didn't catch it.
Ali Chaudhry.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Welcome, Ali Bhai.
Okay.
I've been looking to join you for a long time.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
I actually called you one day, but I never got a response.
I see. Okay. We may have been distracted.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.